Welcome to your weekly Open the Door to Tai Chi lesson. Today we get to end our mini series on applying the principles to segments of the 24 short form. We ended last time with after we turn and we kick left. So now we go into the part that everybody loves that includes snake creeps. But that's the point of working in segments and applying those principles, because now we can start to improve our Tai Chi by utilizing those principles and hopefully making that last part of the form not so intimidating. Because think of the relaxation that you've built up going through the form. And as I know, because I talk to a lot of people, it gets to you when when you turn and you're like, oh no, here comes that snake creeps again. So I don't want that to happen to you. I want that relaxation that you've built up through the beginning 2 sections to flow through to the end. So let's work on that last segment together. We're going to start by thinking of columns. Remember, shoulders and hips in harmony. We have one column straight down the center, one through each shoulder, through each hip. It's not ramrod straight. And as you'll see in this section, it doesn't necessarily mean being upright, right? We'll have to work through that. Pick the needle up from the C bottom. Have to work through our snake creeps, right? So we're going to start, even though we ended last time with that left kick, it's actually very important to start with that left kick. Because at this point, if we're thinking about our columns forming our bird's beak, that left leg taps and then we step out with our snake creeps. And as we lower our center of gravity, we can think about keeping our columns intact, and we don't have to put our hand through the grass that's very low. Our grass can be very high. So think about lowering from here, keeping those columns intact, and coming into your pheasant stance. And then turning, forming that bird's beak. As we lower our center of gravity, trying to keep those shoulders in harmony with our hips. Don't worry about how low you get. Think about your columns instead. Turning and pheasant stance. Fair lady works the shuttle. Don't overreach. Stay within your columns. Make sure your shoulders are in harmony with your hips. Fair lady works the shuttle. Pick the needle up from the C bottom. Now as we come down, obviously shoulders are not above hips like this, but shoulders are in harmony with the hips as you come down. There's a line from your shoulder through to your hips. You're not leaning forward like this to pick the needle up. You have your columns intact by keeping those shoulders in harmony with the hips as you pick the needle up from the C bottom. Fan through the back, again, not overreaching, turning and deflect, intercept and punch, pushing chi, return the tiger to the mountain. Again, as you bend here, you're not bending from the waist to return the tiger. You're bending from your knees, keeping those shoulders in harmony with your hips, and close. So now let's think about rotation. A lot of those moves feel very linear, and they are, but there's still a lot of rotation that you need to be thinking about. So as we kick left, forming that bird's beak, stepping out, thinking about this first rotation here as we move in this plane, this circle, as we turn our torso this way to come into our pheasant stance. Then we turn. It's a very simple, just tap the foot and pivot on your left foot. Snake creeps, using that rotation to turn your body, and pheasant stands. Now, holding that ball, we can rotate into our Fair Lady Works the shuttle. Remember, rotation is power, and we want that power as we're blocking something. Stepping up, pick the needle up from the sea bottom. Come up, block, fan through the back. Using that rotation again as power to come into your deflect, intercept, and punch. Now think about the rotation here. You're not just moving deflect, intercept, and punch. Your torso doesn't stay forward. As you rotate, power, and then that left shoulder comes forward so that you have rotation for that punch. Pushing chi, rotating into your final movement, return the tiger to the mountain. So now let's think about moving from the dantian. Remember, with that left kick, as we discussed last time, you want to lift from the dantian to kick. Now as you lower your dantian, lowering your center of gravity to go into your snake creeps, move from the dantian, bringing that dantian over that base of support, over your left leg now, so that you can come into pheasant stance. Again, lowering that center of gravity, moving that dantian, rotating it, and pulling it over the right leg now to come into pheasant stance. Then letting the dantian lead so that the arms just follow in our Fair Lady Works the shuttle. And now pushing that dantian back as we pick the needle up from the sea bottom. It's actually very important. That helps with your balance for this motion, and fan through the back. Then leading from the dantian with your deflect, intercept, and punch. Pushing chi actually uses that dantian too. You're just pulling back and pushing forward. Return the tiger to the mountain and close. So now let's distinguish between substantial and insubstantial. Remember, that left leg has to be completely insubstantial so that you can kick. Then it remains insubstantial because it's the one that moves first into your snake creeps. As you lower yourself, you're not transferring weight to that left side yet. Understanding substantial and insubstantial, really distinguishing, is going to help you tremendously with your snake creeps. You've just kicked left. The right leg is substantial, left leg is insubstantial. As you step out, the right leg stays substantial. Left leg does not become substantial until you turn, and then you let that right leg become insubstantial so that you can lift into your pheasant stance. Same thing here. As you step out with that right, it's still insubstantial. It doesn't become substantial until you turn, bringing that dantian over that right leg so that you can lift into pheasant stance. Fair Lady Works the shuttle. You're rocking back. This is just like our brush knee and our part the wild horse's mane. That left leg now has to become insubstantial so it can step. As we step up, With pick the needle up from the C bottom, this left leg should be as insubstantial as possible as you come down. You don't want to bring your weight forward. You keep that weight back on the right. And now, as you fan through the back, then your left becomes substantial. As you turn, think about the right leg filling and then the left. So now the right leg is insubstantial because then it can step for your deflect. As you step up, left is insubstantial and it stays insubstantial because it's the one to step out for your punch. Pushing chi. Return the tiger to the mountain. Think about that last substantial and insubstantial. You bring your weight back onto the right with pushing chi, and then your weight comes forward onto the left. That makes that right leg more insubstantial. I know there's a little bit of weight there, but that allows you to lift that right leg to turn into your return the tiger, and it makes that move much easier as well. So now we're going to talk about being rooted and grounded, understanding the intent and purpose of the movements. So as we kick, obviously this right leg is substantial. It is rooted and grounded. Now as we step into our snake creeps, this move naturally lowers your center of gravity, makes you more stable as you're lower to the ground. Now, as you come into your pheasant stance, think about being rooted through this left column and pheasant stance. Snake creeps. Pheasant stance. Keep your center of gravity low as you step into your Fair Lady Works the shuttle. Even though you're blocking something coming from on high, you don't want to overreach. You want to keep yourself rooted and grounded. Fair Lady Works the shuttle. Pick the needle up from the C bottom. Come up block, fan through the back. As you turn to come into your deflect, intercept, and punch, remember you have to step wide. This is part of being rooted and grounded. If you step narrow, then you're off balance. You are coming against an opponent here. You want yourself rooted, stable. Then as you come up and deliver that punch. Pushing chi. Again, check your stance. Make sure that it's wide enough. And then return the tiger to the mountain. Now we're going to talk about energy, the energy flow, and keeping movement continuous. Remember that Tai Chi is not a telegram. It's not a start and stop. That energy should flow, and that movement should be continuous from the moment you start your form till the end. There are a lot of places in this last half where it's very tempting to stop, right? It's very tempting to go, aha, I did it. I'm as stable as I can be. But we still have to feel that continuous movement and let that energy flow. We can't block that energy. So we'll start with that kick. And then we move right into that lowering our center of gravity, moving and coming into that pheasant stance. Then we turn. This is part of that continuous motion, is that turn. As we come into our pheasant stance, letting that energy flow as we gather in a ball of energy here, and Fair Lady works the shuttle. Holding that ball, just like our part the wild horse's mane and brush knee, Fair Lady works the shuttle. Pick the needle up from the sea bottom. Come up block, fan through the back. Flowing, letting our movement continue and keeping our bodies open and loose as we finish up the form with pushing chi and return the tiger to the mountain. Now we're going to put all of the principles together in just a second here, but I want to briefly point out that especially in that last section, your other principles, if you're applying them, are helping you with that continuous movement. You're distinguishing substantial from insubstantial, being rooted and grounded, allowing the dantian to lead, using your rotation. All of those things are helping keep that motion going. So now we're going to do the last principle, thinking about breathing. And as I said at the beginning, some of you, when you get to this section, you go, and your breathing gets really shallow because it's a nervous point. This is why I want you to practice this last half just over and over again so that you can start to let your breathing be natural, be deep, long, slow, calm, uniform, all of those things that we want, that we have with the rest of the form, that should be happening with our snake creeps section as well. So we're gathering that energy, kicking left, and then allow yourself just to relax. Just think about breathing naturally at this point. Don't think about which way am I supposed to be breathing. Just think about deep and relaxed, long and calm. Try to think about not being nervous as you go through this section. Just allow your body to relax and breathe naturally. Fan through the back. Deflect. Intercept and punch. Pushing chi. Return the tiger to the mountain. And close. So now let's do that last section one more time, trying to put together as many of the principles as you can. I know it's hard. I know the human brain is not set up to think of 8 things at once. But if we practice, then it becomes more natural, easier to start to integrate those principles. And now they don't become 8 separate things. Now they're kind of melded into this one ball. And that's what's helping you through this form and giving you the benefits. So that's what we're trying to accomplish, is not to separate them out, but actually to bring them together. So as we kick left, now relaxing, lowering our center of gravity, rotating from the dantian, letting that right leg be completely insubstantial. Thinking about as we rotate and then bringing our dantian over our center of mass, over our base of support. Now think about that energy staying within your columns. Think about your substantial and insubstantial changes. Moving that dantian back actually keeps those columns intact. Fan through the back. Using that rotation for power, being rooted and grounded. As you come into your deflect, intercept, and punch, using that rotation, pushing chi, breathing in and then breathing out. Return the tiger to the mountain and close. So now we're going to do the whole form, and I want you to just be natural through the form. Yes, we're trying to apply these principles, but that's the whole point of taking the segments. Then we can put it together like we talked about music, using little bars, practicing over and over again, and then you have to put it into the whole thing to see how the whole thing has improved with your segment practice. So standing nice and tall, let your feet feel the ground. Kind of wiggle your toes a little bit. Loosen your knees. Let your shoulders relax away from your earlobes. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, sink just a little bit more. And open. Preparation. Breathing in, thinking about that energy flowing. Breathing out. Part the wild horse's mane. Really distinguish between your substantial and insubstantial. Part the wild horse's mane. One more. Part the wild horse's mane. Stepping up, holding that ball. White crane spreads its wings. Using your rotation, leading from the dantian. Brush knee. Brush knee. One more. Brush knee. Stepping up, play the guitar. Repulse the monkey, keeping those columns intact. Knowing your substantial and insubstantial. Rotating from the dantian. Thinking about getting away from your opponent. And now breathing in and relax, ward off. Grasp the bird's tail. Roll back. Rotate and press. Pushing chi. Bringing your weight over to the right. Back to the left. And ward off. Grasp the bird's tail. Roll back. Rotate and press. Pushing chi. Rotating into your single whip, keeping those columns intact. Wave hands like clouds. Letting that dantian lead so your substantial and insubstantial can be very distinct, and allowing that rotation to relax your body. Single whip. High pat on horse, using that energy to go into your opponent. Kick, smash, and box the ears. Turning, kicking left. Relaxing into your snake creeps. Pheasant stands. Snake creeps. Pheasant stands. Fair lady works the shuttle. Fair lady works the shuttle. Pick the needle up from the sea bottom. Fan through the back. Deflect. Intercept and punch. Pushing chi. Return the tiger to the mountain. And close. So I hope you've enjoyed this little mini series on improving the segments of the 24 form by going through it with each of the principles separately, but realizing that the point, like I said earlier, is to be able to bring it back together and understand how those principles are really married together and how they help improve, get you the benefits of Tai Chi. So practice your last section. Don't just hurry on to doing the whole form like we did just now. Be sure to practice that last section just by itself and then put the whole form together and really feel how you've improved. Hope you enjoy it.